The thing is, this is about dialogue. Dialogue is intended to benefit those that are willing to talk. Now, talks in terms of conflict resolution include phases. The first phase must be the talks about talks. Those that accept to talk, we will talk. Those that do not accept to talk, we will miss them. And as a river in its windings, it deposits those that are heavier for it to carry as a silt. So that is why every river, every lake has got sand. It doesn't mean that lakes love sand. The meaning is that they deposit sand because they can't carry it anywhere. Now that is what we are doing, and that is what we will do. Because this country needs sacrifice. And we are not going to be like the biblical 99 that we are left in order to look for one. No. Instead, we are going to take care of the 99 in order for the one that has remained to observe that actually these people were right.
Do you want to mean you cannot?
Thank you, Comrade Kiria. Members of the press, I was last here and I promised you that we are going to raise havoc at Kaunda grounds, and certainly that it was going to be an opinion poll on the kind of decisions the Democratic Party has taken, that the multitudes that will turn up will display that they are behind the decisions that we have taken. But if they do not turn up, it is therefore going to be indicative of the fact that they are not with us in the flourishing decisions that we have taken as the party. So I am here to tell you, members of the media, that we have achieved the purpose for which we went to northern Uganda. Many people attended, and in fact we are apologizing because the playground didn't seem to be enough, and in my opinion, we even might have encroached on some of those that had grown material crops next to the playground, Kaunda grounds. I can tell you, we thank the people of northern Uganda, we thank members of the Democratic Party, we thank organizers of the welcoming activity, and we even thank our invited guests that included, among others, a representative of the President of the Republic of Uganda, ministers, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, and those that attended all at large. When we signed this agreement, we had a section of persons, and they each adopted a differential kind of conduct. Some adopted a conduct that is completely antagonistic to what we had taken as a decision. The agreement had been signed, leaders of the party had appended signatures to the agreement, so the National Executive Committee, therefore, was convened to either ratify the signed agreement or reject the same. And that was held at Springs Hotel at Indeje. So once the same was ratified, therefore, it became an agreement of the party, full and final. That is the decision of the leading team of the political party called the Democratic Party. Why did we do that? We think that the country must be run on all of the four legs of an animal. That while those among our precincts are preferring elections as a result of power change or leadership change, there must be dialogue for purposes that the election and electoral laws have themselves now to be fine-tuned in order to adapt themselves to a changed state of affairs and ability to change. So we think we cannot all be on the same branch, because even the monkeys don't do so. They cannot be on the same branch of the tree. They each must step on either of the branches. So the dialogue for purposes that we can achieve the best aims of changing Uganda. That is all we did. Those that actually ran amok, they established what we call Gagantuan and extreme Gaga. They are still doing it, but it doesn't matter. That a dog barks does not mean it is doing it out of bravery. No, it is out of cowardice that a dog barks. That is why if we do not run away and we instead touch the ground, it will itself now run away. Ideally now, there is a difference between a dog and a leopard. Because a dog barks but never bites those that are stationed. A leopard instead can take all of those, despite whether you are running or the contrary. We are continuing to do now what is the needful. Number one, absolute, extensive sensitization of both the masses and our cadreship base to understand the objects for which we stand in terms of the cooperation agreement. Now, the first target is going to be the members of parliament, because they seem extremely ignorant about what the cooperation agreement stands for in the equation. The Democratic Party will sail through unconcernedly. After all of those programs are done, we shall definitely, just like a river, deposit all of those that becomes heavier for it as a silt on its windings. But we are going to do what is needful, and that is sensitization. Absolutely, we are going to meet members of parliament continuously, but at the same time, we will address first the 9 districts that voted for our members of parliament. We will go there and teach the people the cooperation agreement. Because our members of parliament are not like a dog that wags its tail. They are just tails that are bigger than the dog, and it is the tails wagging them instead. Now, that is something that we must change. They are, instead of being led by the whims of the masses. Now, the masses need to be told and taught by a leader. The reason why one is called a leader is because, just like a trailer, you must be the trailer head that determines where. You do not have to be a hind of a head where the behind determines where you should go. Now, that is where we are failing as leaders, and we will do that job for them. Once we have stirred up the masses and they have understood, I think we shall now let them continue to lead in the style of leadership that they are used to. One thing we must tell the country is that the test of good governance is in its results. So what is the test of good governance in relation to elections? It is definitely going to be determined by its results. We have held elections 6 times, but every time we have concluded an election, every opposition candidate is either on police bond or on bail, either burying the dead or running up and down for their dear lives. Now, that means that the test of elections in Uganda does not give the best results. Therefore, it does not depict good results. What do we have to do? The laws should be amended. The power of bias must be extinguished from the NRM and also from the opposition, because bias itself does not result into creation of a state. And those are some of the things that the Democratic Party needs and is attending to in terms of the cooperation agreement. We think that bias is so immense that it has blinded all and sundry against seeing what is actually material in order to illuminate the future course of the country. So that is something that must be fought against. Number, you do not have to be a hind of a head where the behind determines where you should go. Now, that is where we are failing as leaders, and we will do that job for them. Once we have stirred up the masses and they have understood, I think we shall now let them continue to lead in the style of leadership that they are used to. One thing we must tell the country is that the test of good governance is in its results. So what is the test of good governance in relation to elections? It is definitely going to be determined by its results. We have held elections 6 times, but every time we have concluded an election, every opposition candidate is either on police bond or on bail, either burying the dead or running up and down for their dear lives. Now, that means that the test of elections in Uganda does not give the best results. Therefore, it does not depict good results. What do we have to do? The laws should be amended. The power of bias must be extinguished from the NRM and also from the opposition, because bias itself does not result into creation of a state. And those are some of the things that the Democratic Party needs and is attending to in terms of the cooperation agreement. We think that bias is so immense that it has blinded all and sundry against seeing what is actually material in order to illuminate the future course of the country. So that is something that must be fought against. Number, we are not saying that this kind of model cannot be abused. No. We are watchful of any intended abuses. The election model itself has been abused 6 times since 1996. That one of the candidates that has been vying for presidential elections has actually been an incumbent president. He has been appointing election officials, in fact, leading and being a protagonist in the enactment of electoral laws, counting the votes, announcing them, and accordingly he has been the sole winner. That is the meaning of abusing an electionism model. So even the model of power sharing can be abused. Even the model of dialogue can be abused. So once we are looking at such models, we are also mindful of likelihood of abuses. And the Democratic Party prides itself in our capacity as members who are cerebral in character to deal with all of the impasses. In Uganda, this is the first of its kind, that the national resistance movement has entered into an agreement of cooperation with the party on the opposition for purposes that we can agree on setting a good and clear legal path for Uganda that can make sure we create a Uganda that is better for us and even for those yet unborn. This is the first one, and we don't expect the majority to understand it on the fingertips immediately. Therefore, it calls for education, sensitization, and these are things that we are going to do. Civic education is material and extremely paramount. We are now getting into the broader peace building agenda. That is going to be a stage. The broader peace building agenda will include, among others, visiting even our our different political organizations that are with us on the opposition. We must visit and make sure we adopt dialogue. You know that cooperation, even within parties themselves, is a subject for consideration. While I was in Gulu, I saw something that I've never seen in my life. I saw somebody, there was a very huge man, around 130 kilograms, but on top of a gate of a political party, head office. He was on top of a gate balancing like, beam balance. I didn't know what was going on, but I was told that actually that is the new method that he has adopted going away from his office. I don't know why. Now, those are things that indicate that the power of bias in Uganda is at its apex. It is affecting even you, the journalists. I saw some of you beaten. I don't know why, but I think you were not happy. Were you? Now, that includes the power of bias that the Democratic Party must fight. Bias against each other, bias against those we oppose, bias against those we intend to oppose even in the future. We must now adopt a major common ground that we must be cerebral enough to know that it is not possible for everybody to agree with you 100%. Therefore, I'm going to focus on 3 letters. The letters can be called PIN, P-I-N. P is the position. Because we know that everybody in the world believes that he or she has the correct opinion and that the other one has the wrong opinion. Why? Because there is no reason why anybody would maintain an opinion you already believe is wrong. So everybody is convinced of their rightfulness and the wrongfulness of the other. That is what informs the position they take on many things. That is letter P, the position. Now that position, behind it is something hidden called an interest. So when you see a member of parliament speaking up in flames, you know that he's taking that position, but underlying there is an interest. Now, what is the interest? The interest must also be assessed, but still, behind the interest, there is a need. For most of them, the need, that is something that cannot be departed from. Of course, now concluding the 3 letters PIN, the need is a salary. The member of parliament is interested in a monthly salary that he does not want to change. Therefore, when we took a position that at that time, did not seem popular, we had preferred posterity to popularity. We are only discovering that actually we were more popular than we even thought. So from Gulu, we have seen that the whole of northern Uganda supports the position we took. We are now going to test the center, the eastern, and everywhere, because that is what it must, that is what it calls for in the equation of sorting out the problems in Uganda. So the DP psychology is what the party called DP is going to adopt. Number two, we are going to adopt a framework of identification of idiots. Let me tell you that if you want to develop in life as a political party, you must adopt what we call an idiot identification process. Because idiots are sometimes smarter. They can dazzle you and even all the population with wrong opinions. If you are in a company with an idiot, it can even be promoted before you. Some idiots can even be elected president if not taken care of. Now that is something that the Democratic Party is going to develop. An idiot detection system. So that we detect idiots, and for us who are cerebral, we begin to take decisions on behalf of a country that will make sure the country lives even longer than our own lives. That is something that we are not going to waver, but proceed unconcernedly on as the Democratic Party. Finally, what we are doing has been tested everywhere. And it is only those that are knowledgeable about what happens everywhere that will understand what we are doing. People keep exalting Nelson Mandela. They do not know that what Nelson Mandela did was to establish dialogue with his own imprisoners. Those that had imprisoned him for over 27 years are those he talked to, and the dialogue that was established made sure that the African National Congress is the leading political party in South Africa up to today. The same has been conducted everywhere. When you look at the bomb massacres in South Sudan of 1991, the bomb massacres of South Sudan in 2013, all of those culminated into agreements that have now tended to make sure the joint government is looking at laws of setting up the best electoral laws for South Sudan, which is federal state best, and the laws that are capable of producing any leader from any political party. The same were done from 1991 in Kenya to 1992, when political parties were freed, up to 2006. These also took place. Burundi, 1993, an agreement was struck out. The same dialogue produced a power sharing procedure of 40-60. When you look at the government of Rwanda, the constitution is clear. Ours here says all power belongs to the people, but the members of the opposition have no power. So that is a corridor of the powerless, illegally established by this government. In Rwanda, when you look at what is happening, a party that wins the presidency does not take parliament speakership. So that is a joint government. The opposition must be the speaker. A party that wins 50% in parliament in Rwanda does not take 50% of cabinet in Rwanda. Now meaning that is power sharing, and that is representative government. Democracy in terms of Africa, which is with ethnicities, anything can be abused. I read the letter of President Museveni, and for him he seems to agree that all sectarianism is bad. No, it is only bad if abused. But organizing people in clustered formations is not entirely wrong. And that is why in Kenya it works. When you sit with a Luo in Kenya, for example, Raila Odinga, whatever his agreement on the issues that are on table represents all of the Luos in terms of agreement on what is at stake on table. We needed it here, but we don't have it because here we do not have a single leader that leads an ethnic group. We don't have a single leader that can command a religion. We don't have a single leader. Now the leaders are two. That one with money and the one without. That is what calls for dialogue, so that we sort out and take back the country to the hands of the people that must reason and take decisions. Currently elections are fun at parliament. Now all voters have gone to parliament and members of parliament didn't win. So they are all stuck. The voters are in parliament, stuck. They don't know what to do. The members that remained in parliament have also got no business to do with it. Others are rioting. So it is because elections were based on celebrity panjandram. All of those that are fans found themselves in parliament, and now they are stuck with what to do in terms of parliamentary procedure. Uganda must get back now to a process that makes sure we do a kind of politics that is palatable for Ugandans today and tomorrow. I thank you very much. I can welcome questions. The thing is, this is about dialogue. Dialogue is intended to benefit those that are willing to talk. Now, talks in terms of conflict resolution include phases. The first phase must be the talks about talks. Those that accept to talk, we will talk. Those that do not accept to talk, we will miss them. And as a river in its windings, it deposits those that are heavier for it to carry as a silt. So that is why every river, every lake has got sand. It doesn't mean that lakes love sand. The meaning is that they deposit sand because they can't carry it anywhere. Now that is what we are doing, and that is what we will do. Because this country needs sacrifice. And we are not going to be like the biblical 99 that were left in order to look for one. No. Instead, we are going to take care of the 99 in order for the one that has remained to observe that actually these people were right.
Honorable, do you want to mean you cannot...
The thing is, this is about dialogue. Dialogue is intended to benefit those that are willing to talk. Now, talks in terms of conflict resolution include phases. The first phase must be the talks about talks. Those that accept to talk, we will talk. Those that do not accept to talk, we will miss them. And as a river in its windings, it deposits those that are heavier for it to carry as a silt. So that is why every river, every lake has got sand. It doesn't mean that lakes love sand. The meaning is that they deposit sand because they can't carry it anywhere. Now that is what we are doing, and that is what we will do. Because this country needs sacrifice. And we are not going to be like the biblical 99 that were left in order to look for one. No. Instead, we are going to take care of the 99 in order for the one that has remained to observe that actually these people were right.
Honorable, do you want to mean you cannot...
Somebody tells you he's a chameleon. Does it mean that he changes into a dog? Yes. So it can change colors, but it remains the same chameleon. And once you know how to deal with the chameleon, you will still deal with that person.